Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Reveal 2025 Year in Review, with a peek at our 2026 H1 roadmap. So the goal today, talk about what we shipped in 2025. If you haven't upgraded yet, these are some of the things that you can look forward to. And if you have upgraded, then you're one of the lucky ones that has been able to take advantage of some of these new features. And we're going to talk about some AI and then some other products from Infragistics that might be of interest to you. My name is Jason Beres. My email, jasonb@infragistics.com. Housekeeping, we will send a recording of the webinar out to all attendees so you can share with your colleagues. So at a glance, as usual, we shipped a lot. We had 6 major releases in 2025, but it was really about the velocity at which we were shipping and the number of bugs that we fixed, new data connectors that we added, features to data connectors. We are basing everything off of customer feedback when it comes to Reveal. So your success is our success and vice versa. So when you ask for features, we try to respond in kind to deliver those features with releases that happen every other month. So like clockwork, every 2 months we are releasing. We started the year off with version 1.7.2. We ended with 1.8.2, and we'll be seeing a release pretty soon in January as well. So not too far away from our next release. So we'll continue to expand the feature set across all the pillars that you're going to talk about today, but that means more features from an interaction perspective, more data connectors, more bug fixes, and then improvements on core capabilities of the platform. As we grow and get more and more customers, we have so many more incoming feature requests. And that's what's exciting about the growth of Reveal, is that you'll just start seeing more and more features like you did in 2025 in the years to come. So pillar 1, we really looked at the enterprise connectivity and scale. We had a ton of requests for Databricks over the last maybe 2.5 years, but it really amped up when Microsoft deployed Databricks on Azure. So once Databricks was on Azure, sort of the floodgates opened in requests for Databricks. So having now a Databricks connector with Entra ID authentication is a big deal. Databricks is a really high performance, high-end database with all kinds of capabilities. So now we have that connector in Reveal. Snowflake, we continue to have more and more Snowflake customers. So we've enhanced the Snowflake data connector. So we have key value pair authentication, stored procedure support, grid paging, and more. So these are 2 big enterprise data sources, sort of like BigQuery is, and those are more common at the really high end. And then at the mid-market, you've got a lot of Postgres, MySQL, SQL Server, and those data connectors as well continue to get improvements as we deliver releases throughout the year. And then we've also had new connectors. So we did ship Elasticsearch. We shipped a beta of that maybe about 2 months ago. And then in the last release, we've added more features to our Elasticsearch connector. We've improved a lot of Redshift capabilities. So Redshift, again, is up at that high end of data connector. And we've added grid paging to that. We also added different capabilities in multi-tenancy and how you can manage different schemas across tenants. So pretty cool stuff there in Redshift. And then Postgres, BigQuery, we've added support for materialized views and different things in those connectors as well. So again, more work across connectors, and in the roadmap, you'll see some of the stuff coming in some of the connectors as well. But when we talk about enterprise scale, one of the biggest maybe feature requests or knocks against Reveal was our caching. So historically, our caching has been a SQLite database on the server wherever you deploy. So if you're deploying Node, .NET, Java, we auto-generate this SQLite database, and that's where the cache goes. The problem with that is it doesn't really handle stickiness at scale. So when you have a distributed application, you have servers that people could be hitting for different things, and that's where an enterprise cache solution like Redis comes into play. So Redis is now available to everyone, super easy. Just give your authentication and the location of your existing Redis database, and then we'll use that for the cache. So you now don't have to worry about only having a single cache and a single server in a SQLite database. So pretty exciting there. And then grid paging. We've added paging now across all of the major connectors. So MongoDB, Snowflake, and Redshift were the most recent ones to get paging. And then we've improved paging as well. So when you did data blending, you didn't have paging support. Well, now you do. One of the neat things we're looking at too is being able to do paging for things like Excel and REST. So look for that coming next year. And then modern runtime, we upgraded all of our binaries to .NET 8. Of course, we use .NET as the core underlying library for Node and the .NET package. And now we've also moved the Java package to having a .NET runtime, which is really pretty wild. We had a native Java package, but we realized that because we have an API across Node, .NET, and Java that are all the same, and Node and .NET share that same runtime, can we do the same thing with Java? So now we have a Java wrapper around the .NET runtime, and we actually get better performance using .NET with C# with a Java wrapper versus actually just using all of Java. So for Java customers, that's going to be a big benefit and a performance boost for you. And if you look at anything around .NET 8, .NET 10, you'll see that Microsoft is just crushing it on performance characteristics across those runtimes with each release. So then pillar 2, we talk about developer control and governance. So give developers the wheel. So we're all about features and APIs. So we've shipped a new toolbar, which I'll show you in a demo today. It gives you more capability in what you can show in a toolbar, as well as new toolbar APIs. We have new filter APIs. So now you can customize the date time dropdown presets. You can actually show and hide filters. You can have multiple date filters now. So there's been a lot of work around filtering and APIs. And then around security and configuration, we have improved the encryption on SQLite. So you can swap in and out whether you want the SQLite cache to be encrypted or not, completely up to you. Or if you're using Redis, you don't really care. And then we also improved how you can take advantage of beta features with some new flags, which I'm going to show you a little bit in code. And then, of course, continuing to add APIs that give you more control over that experience in the UI. And then pillar 3, visual clarity and data storytelling. So continuing to get more of those features that your customers love. So conditional formatting, I would say, is like it's an RTM feature today, but I would say it's a V1 RTM. There's a ways to go on some of the additions that we're going to be making in Q1 and Q2 of 2026, but it's a good start. Fixed lines and annotations are awesome features. I'm going to demo those today. Label and legend control, so how labels and descriptions show up. And then part of that is what you can also do with that new toolbar that I talked about as well. So these end up being really important. And then, of course, we have this feature called interactive filtering. Gosh, it was in beta for at least a year as we improved the capability. But as you hover over items like a column and a column chart or a bar or a pie slice, you get a tooltip now, and that tooltip allows you to do filtering for data sets that are the same or visualizations that have the same data set in your dashboard. So there's multiple ways to do filtering in Reveal, but this interactive filtering just makes it easy because there's no code to actually do it. And then enhanced controls on what you can do in terms of interactions on the UX. I'm going to show you a little bit of that. And then just overall UX polish on the dashboards. And you're going to continue to see that theme going into 2026 when we see the roadmap. But with that, let's jump into a demo. I'm going to show some of the new features in the new releases. I'm going to show you some of the other interesting things from Infragistics, as well as an AI demo, which will kind of lead us into that Q1 roadmap on what you should expect coming in Q1. So the first thing that I want to talk about is just what does Infragistics do besides Reveal? So Reveal is a huge part of our platform. You can see right here in the middle in our embedded analytics box, but we also have design and development product, which is UI UX components, and then a low code tool called App Builder. And then we have a work management product called Slingshot. From the UI UX perspective, which is more the Reveal adjacent market, it's all about user interface components for all the platforms that matter. So our main flagship bundle is called Infragistics Ultimate. It has essentially every UI component for most platforms, every modern platform that you would care about, including Angular, React, Blazor, web components, WPF, Windows Forms. Basically, anything that you want to build on the UX, you can build with Ultimate. So if I go back up to the top here, I'm just going to go to the main menu and let's take a look at the web components. This is the web components homepage. The way that we build software at Infragistics for our web products is that everything is the same no matter what platform you're using, whether it's React, Angular, Blazor, we don't really care. So these are some grid samples, some very nice polished grid samples that kind of demonstrate the rich capability of things that you can do with the Infragistics Grids product. So if I scroll down, you can see I can expand different rows on my screen for master detail. If I jump over to like this org chart, HR portal, just another sort of tree grid experience here. We've got things like toolbars for showing, hiding columns, column pinning, exporting. You can do advanced filtering with and or groups and basically any type of query that you want to build out. This financial portfolio is just a nice finance grid. We have a huge customer base in the fintech space because we have the highest performing data grids on the planet. Like no one beats us in Windows Forms, WPF, Angular, React, it doesn't really matter. And that's really huge for financial services. This sales dashboard is like a pivot grid that you would see in Microsoft Excel with all of those same sort of features, interactive features for users. You can do different grouping and sums and sorting, etc. And then this fleet management sample is actually a really cool one. In fact, if I go full screen on it, there's a couple neat things here like some hover tooltips showing geospatial. If I expand into a specific record, there's a tab here which is showing me different data and charts, etc. I could stick a reveal dashboard in here if I'd like to. But again, the idea is that when you want to build beautiful user experiences, Ignite UI, which is all of our modern web platforms, is a great way to go. And one of the neat things is that last week we just made an announcement that we've gone open source for a bunch of our components. So in our samples, what you'll see now is an open source badge which has premium components with this star, and then things that don't have a star are all of our open source UI components. Everything's available on GitHub and your platform of choice, be it React, Angular, web components, etc. And if I scroll down here, you'll see that our premium components are like the high performance data grids, our doc manager, charts, maps. We have a spreadsheet component and a few other things. But as I scroll down to our comparison table, you'll see all of the checkboxes on the green for what is open source and what is not. So there's a ton of neat stuff here that is open source available for you to take advantage of, including a high performance virtualized data grid. So we also didn't just limit it to, combo boxes and selects and other things. We have a data grid. We've got a beautiful layout manager, but all kinds of neat controls that you can take advantage of in your application building. And then on the low code side, we have a product called App Builder. I've demoed App Builder a bunch of times when we do some of these reveal webinars. And today I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm going to sign in, and this will take me over to my App Builder instance. I'm logged in with one of my fake IDs, so I'm kind of like at this new entry point where I've never added an app before. But there's all kinds of ways to get going with App Builder. I can start with sample apps. I can start with templates. I can generate something with AI. I can go from Figma into App Builder. So if I want to generate something with AI, I can say create a financial dashboard with Reveal. It goes off, generates this application, and just like that, within a few seconds, I have a Reveal application. So what this did is if I go to the left, you can see it created a view, and then I have a toolbox of all of the components that I might want to use. I can connect into databases. I've got variables, local and global, theming, etc. So here, if I want to swap out my theme to make this look different, I can do that as well. So if I go here, and let's just make this the actual size, and we'll kind of drill in, you can see that this is a beautiful Reveal dashboard. If I hit run, what this does is it's actually running this. I can go to a code view here, so I can see what code is getting generated for this. This happens to be React. Well, maybe I'm doing Angular, and I'm doing Angular modules. Well, now I've got my TypeScript, my SCSS, and everything that makes up this application. So this is a low-code tool that generates production-ready code. So it's actually pretty slick. So let's go to React. And what I want to do is actually modify this a little bit. So I'm going to zoom to fit, and there's my dashboard. So I'm actually going to delete the Reveal dashboard. And what I want to do is connect into some data and then build like a whole Reveal experience. So I'm going to pick a layout here. This will have a left and a right side. On the width, I want this guy to be, let's say, 25%. And on this side, I want to go to my toolbox. I want to search for Reveal, and I'm going to drag that same dashboard. And on this side, I want a list component, and I want to drag a list component there. So this list component, if I zoom in again, basically I want to bind all of my dashboards that are on my server. So I've already set up like a .NET server with Reveal. So it's running at localhost 5117. So if I go to localhost and let's do 51 2117, and I'm going to do Swagger. I want to see my Swagger index.html because I have Swagger enabled. That will give me my dashboards. So here, if I scroll down, you can see I've got an API here just to give me my dashboard name. So I want to connect this data source into my app builder app. So let's go and to our data tab. I'm going to hit plus. I have my dialog here. So let's call this reveal year in review. I'm going to pick Swagger, and then I need the endpoint here of my reveal server. So let's paste this guy in. We'll hit save. We'll configure our endpoints. And what I want here is my dashboard names endpoint, this guy here. So let's check this box. And for some reason, that guy was selected. It's not what I wanted. So let's select this guy. We can send this off. We can view the details. I can see what I got, which is exactly what I wanted. And now I can bind my list to this data source. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to select data. The data that I want to select is my reveal year in review. I'm going to pick dashboard names. And now in my data binding properties, I can tell it what I want to bind to. So I'm going to show the title. And here I'm not going to show any subtitle. Actually, I can get rid of that. And I could have like a dashboard thumbnail. I could have actions, but let's just leave this kind of the way it is. And on the interaction side, what I want to do is when someone clicks an item, I want to set a variable. I want to get the selected dashboard, and I'm going to load that over in my reveal view. So let's go ahead and create this variable. What are we going to select? Let's get the dashboard file name, and now I'm done. So when I click here, this will actually pass that variable to whoever wants it. In this case, my reveal view is the one that actually wants it. So let's go and put our server here. So HTTP localhost 5117.117. And for our dashboard, we don't want the sales dashboard. What we want is whatever ends up being the selected dashboard. So I'll select that guy, and let's make sure I spelled it wrong. So we forgot our L here, and we're ready to rock and roll. So what's going to happen now when I hit run? Here's my reveal dashboard. When I select a dashboard, I'm actually viewing the dashboard here. This is all the code that was written, so I don't have to write any of the code. I can get rid of that code view. Let's look at the sales dashboard. If I want to edit this guy, I can. Remember, I'm still in reveal, so if I want to change this from territory to maybe employee new sales, great. Check the box, check the box. As you know, that is now saved. That's what that visualization will actually look like. And in fact, the names here are quite long. So let's go into edit mode. I can make this visualization even longer, or I can edit it again, change this from a spline to a bar. Let's get rid of our legend and might look a little bit better. There we go. So what can I do now if I'm back here? Remember, I have React. So if I want to actually get the code for this, I can publish this. So I can publish it to GitHub, Azure DevOps. I can download a zip file. So if I click publish, we can give it a name. And let's just call it FinTech Demo Reveal. I'll hit enter. And this is actually creating that GitHub repository. And then here's my final dialog. I can deploy this app to a GitHub page so I can actually have a real live running app. In this case, I'm just going to click publish. And this goes up. It's generating the code in our cloud server. Now it's published it to GitHub. If I click this guy and we look at source and I drill into my app, you're going to see that here is all of my apps. So here's my reveal dashboard view. This is my React code. Everything looks great. If I go back to my FinTech demo, I can grab this. Let's copy this code. Let's go back to here. Let me do a new window for Visual Studio. Let's go ahead and clone that repository, and I'll just stick it there. That's fine. I'm going to open that window, and here we are. Here's my app. So let's get to our terminal, control that. I'll do an npm install and an npm start. And what this is doing is it'll go off, get all the dependencies installed, and I will actually have my running reveal app. And in fact, if I go to source, what App Builder's doing now is it is using a slightly older version of Reveal to generate this code. So let's go ahead and update that version in my index.html. So let's put that guy there for a sec. Let's go to index.html. Let's make sure this is an 8 and not a 7. So now that rebuilt, let's go back here. Now when I select a dashboard, you can see there is my dashboard. It looks great. Let's go to edit mode. We'll edit this guy. Maybe I don't want cost or revenue, just cost of labor. Maybe I want to look at some of those new features that we just shipped. So what's the average across all of my cost of labor? I went down to the fixed lines, I selected average, and there is my average. If I check this box, check the box, now that's saved. Just like that, I generated an app from scratch, drag and drop, WYSIWYG, using App Builder, which makes it super easy. And what's cool is the components I use, obviously besides Reveal, are all open source. So this list component's an open source component. Most of the components that are in this toolbox are part of our Ignite UI open source options. So let's take a look at some of the new features that we shipped this year in Reveal. I kind of touched on the fixed lines, but we'll look at that a little bit more as well. So here I've got a sample which is showing some different dashboards that I've created. Some of them are bound to Excel. This orders guide is actually linked into our my local Postgres database. And you'll see some new features that are already emerging here. So as I'm hovering over, you can see that the new interactive tooltip is here with interactive filtering. So as I filter, you'll notice the grid is changing. So now I've filtered by Switzerland, and only Switzerland is available in the grid. If I collapse that out, I'm back to all of the data that's in the grid. If I hover over Germany and I filter by Germany, all the German records are showing in the grid. So this interactive filtering allows me to do a single or multi-value filter. I can add as many things as I would like to my filter. So here I've got Germany and some other countries that I've added. Let's see, we can get to some of them. There's USA, and I think we added Portugal in there somewhere that maybe there's some Portugal records. But at the end of the day, what this means is you don't have to wire up anything. These two are both using the same backend materialized view in Postgres. It could be a stored procedure, function, view, table. It doesn't really matter. And we'll auto wire up that filtering for you. You'll also notice the grid looks a little bit different. This is the new grid that we've been talking about for a while. This will ship next year in H1. A couple features here in the new grid I want to highlight. I do have some conditional formatting set on. Obviously, things like sorting are going to work. We have a new overflow that gives you some capabilities on the grid. So for example, I can do column moving. I can pin columns if I want to the right or the left. I can do different types of summaries on columns. I can group by column. So let's say I want to group by country, and I want to, have groups of data, and then we could have summaries with those groups, etc. Well, you can do that with this new grid. So there's a lot of features and capabilities here that you'll be able to take advantage of. There's still a bunch of UX work that we need to do, as well as making sure all these features work together. But the idea is that you'll have a much more robust, interactive data exploration experience with the new grid. And if I go into edit mode here, what you'll see is it looks just like the old grid, like it's just grid in the dropdown, and you'll be able to beta feature this in. So right now, this is available to you if you enable beta features. And if I go to freight and I go to this new tab called conditional formatting, you'll see that I have a condition here. So if a value is greater than 125, I want the cell to be green. I can do a new rule. Let's say if that same field, and let's say the value is less than 25, maybe I want this guy to be red. So we'll make the cell red or pink or whatever. I can also have a dot if I'd like. Let's do a yellow dot. Great, and that's what the preview is going to look like. Update that field, and now you can see I have yellow and red dots. Conditional formatting right now works on certain charts and the grid, so you can have conditions with nice formatting however you'd like. So if I check this box, we'll minimize this guy, check the box. You can see that now this is saved, and I have different conditions. You can have as many conditions as you would like across the columns in a grid or in a chart, or it doesn't really matter. You'll also notice up here I've got some dates that look a little interesting, because usually in Reveal you can only have one date filter. Well, we enabled the ability for you to have as many date filters as you'd like. So I'm going to delete this date filter. Let's delete this date filter, and let's go ahead and add a new date filter. So by default, we'll always try to connect up the data filter, or the date or data filter, doesn't matter. But if I check this box, you'll see that I am bound to the order date. This record set actually has 3 different dates in it. So I'm going to update this connection. And in fact, let me go and edit that again. And I'm going to change this to say order date. And I will click done, update that filter, add this again, add another date filter. And let's connect these guys again, but let's change this to, it picked up required date, the next available one for me. So let's change this to required date, hit enter, and we'll create the filter. So now I can have a order date filter and a required date filter, and I can keep going. However many date filters you happen to require for your dashboard, you can have. So now let me go and edit my dashboard, add a new viz, and I'm just going to grab anything here. I'll grab sales summary, select this data. What if I want to create a new visualization, but I want to show data by week? So this is a new feature as well. By default, you usually don't get week unless it's a function. So now we've added week in our date parsing. So here I can do like items count by week. And now you'll see that I get the week display on the bottom. So really cool there for week. And also you may have noticed this different toolbar. So this is the new toolbar that I've been talking about, and it has some more features. I can do things like zoom in, zoom out, reset. You can do fixed lines. So we'll automatically wire up min, max, etc., and give different colors, put it in the legend. If I go back, you can add trend lines right from this interactivity. What's nice about this is your users now don't have to edit a dashboard just to get more data or customize what they're seeing in the actual visualization. Here I can copy the image. We still have our statistical functions. You still have the ability to swap out visualizations at runtime. So the new toolbar is available as well. So again, just kind of more cool stuff that we've added. So now let's take a look at AI. AI, we did a webinar a couple weeks ago and sort of introduced what we're shipping in AI. I'm going to do a little bit of that webinar or that demo right now. What we're shipping currently is for some preview customers to get their hands on this and give us feedback. We're going to continue to roll this out through the end of the year and into January. And our plan is to release this at the end of Q1. So what do you get? You get a bunch of APIs that you can inject into your experience, or you can use a conversational UI just like this chat window here. So I can just ask questions, how many orders per year. And what we're doing here is we're not generating SQL statements. We're using the reveal lifecycle. So all of your authentication provider, your data source provider, your object filter, all of the security that you have built in. We're constructing an RDash file and we're passing that off and it's going through that lifecycle. So you can just add natural language questions. Now we also have some other checks in there. You'll notice here this said number of orders per year, but it also said chop chop. Well, what is chop chop? So what we are allowing you to do, as well as customize what tables are available, is you can override or give yourself more business context for things that are in your database. So a lot of the problem with self-service or AI is that AI can't fix your poorly named data. Users just know things as certain, text or descriptors or whatever. So what you can do is you can say, well, hey, for something like the order ID field, I want my users call it chop chop. This field we call chop chop is referring to orders and the order ID. So when I talk about chop chop, I want to say that it's orders. And this is sort of an extreme example, but you can have as many of these as you like to give that business context that you might need when trying to do searches in Reveal. And I can do more advanced stuff. I can say create an order analysis dashboard. And what it will do is it won't just give me a single visualization, it'll give me multiple visualizations. So I have the ability to not only just give some conversational AI, I can generate dashboards. You can do something called widget analysis. So I can pass a single visualization off to the AI to get an analysis of that visualization. We're surfacing that in a couple ways. We have this AI button here where I can summarize the dashboard or analyze this dashboard. So if I go and I want to analyze what I'm seeing in this particular dashboard, we're taking those widgets, we're passing it back over to the server. It's doing some analysis based on the fields and the data and the schema that is in there, and then we'll get a report back. So we'll see here in a second a slide out which is giving us some context on this order analysis. And of course, this is a separate component. This is the reveal view like that you usually have anyway. So however you want to surface this in your application will be completely up to you. We're not going to say you can only do one thing or another. So this says the analysis is complete. So there we go. We get a nice report here. It's breaking down the order details, the geography, giving me some recommended actions. So kind of really nice stuff. I can add this to the dashboard. I can copy this summary, paste it off, do whatever I want. But the idea is that I have now a rich AI experience that kind of gives my users a little bit more capability. So this is the order analysis dashboard. I can check this box. In my sample here, I'm doing a save. We'll call this order analysis demo, and that goes off and saves it. So now if I go to load in chat, what is this guy doing? I just have a couple dashboards here, and I can load these guys up, and it's basically just showing me stuff. But what happens if I want to maybe add something to a dashboard or modify a dashboard? I'll be able to do that as well, because remember, we're just giving you an API. And in fact, let me make this a little bit smaller so it fits on the screen a little bit better. But here, this is just my own custom UI. And what I've done is I've wired up the Reveal AI API to this text box. And I'm going to say add an employee sales widget to this dashboard. And what this should do is it should know what my intent was, because I asked it to add something. So you can see here in the spinner, it says it's actually editing the dashboard. So now it's taken this, it's going through a series of steps in my AI to figure out what an employee sales widget might look like, and it should add it to this dashboard. And I've also added a button here to save changes. So here we've added an employee sales widget here. So there is my employee sales widget. Not bad. And now if I want to save this guy, I can go ahead and save it. And if I go over to custom chat, it's going to be a very similar story. This is just another entry point for a chat. What I want to highlight here is that you can connect into literally any database that you want. All of the data connectors for Reveal work. And of course, we are allowing you to use whatever large language model or small language model you happen to have. So I'm using OpenAI now, but you can use a local Ollama model. You can use Bedrock. You can use whatever you want. Grok, we don't really care. Gemini. You are in control of what AI model you use. Then you see there's just other features that you can do with the AI. But the idea is that we want you to be able to inject AI wherever you want. We're going to give you a beautiful chat interface, and you can have a conversation with your data, or your users can. Another nice feature we're going to add is the ability to just generate dashboards by passing it a schema. So you might want to give your users something like here, we got order details extended, has some nice fields. Let me select all those fields and generate a dashboard. So now what this is doing is it's taking those fields and that schema, passing it off to the Reveal AI engine, and we will here now generate a dashboard, which comes up, and you can see we've added a couple widgets here. It's determined that these are the two best widgets based on that schema. But here's the nice thing. I'm still here. I can duplicate a viz. I can go into edit mode, maybe do something a little bit different if I'd like. I've got extended price. Let's do something around quantity. Check that box, and I can save out these dashboards. And then what we're also going to ship is like a playground here. And this has just a bunch of different API options. Like I want to build a report. I want to analyze a widget. I want to add filters, edit an existing dashboard, adjust filters. So really the idea here is giving you a little playground where you can learn the API and then test the results with your own back end. So in this case, I did a widget analysis and I got some data back here. This is some of the JSON that came back from the AI. And this is all stuff that you could use in your application. So as I mentioned a couple weeks ago in our previous webinar, if you're interested in being onboarded with the AI, shoot me an email, jasonb@infogistics.com, or contact your salesperson and we will get you into the schedule. But right now, private, moving into some public samples in January, then RTM later in Q1. So with that, let's go back to our slides and let's wrap this guy up. So looking ahead, what is on the roadmap? So Q1, yes, it's all about AI. We want to RTM the AI and have like a really clean API, make it super easy for you to integrate this into your app experience. We've got some new connectors coming, Cosmos DB and ClickHouse, and more. So we want to add a bunch more data sources next year, and you'll see more data sources coming. We got that new data grid, so I would expect near the end of Q1 that will ship as an RTM. We're going to continue to improve on conditional formatting. We're actually adding a feature called data thresholds, which will allow you to say, hey, when this KPI goes under a certain value, notify me, in my Teams, in my Slack, by a pop-up. We don't care. We're just going to hand it off to you, and you can do whatever you want with it. So those developer APIs will be coming. And then Entra ID for all Azure connectors. So this will start rolling out in the March, or is it January? February release, I believe it is. Yeah, end of February. We will have Entra ID for SQL Server, Postgres, MySQL, and we're going to continue to make sure that any Azure connector that we have has the Entra ID connectors. And then Q2 and Q3 continue to give you more AI features, MCP servers, better support on our side. If you've been using the AI in Discord now, it actually works pretty good. But yeah, AI is the story for next year. We're going to be doing a lot of cool AI. One of the features we want to improve on is how you can do parameterized queries in data source items. We're going to add some more advanced visualizations and a big feature, ARIA compliance for accessibility. So what's really important is I have here on the bottom, if you haven't upgraded to 1.8.x yet, you should, because you don't want to get too far behind. If you're still on 1.7. something, you're 3 releases behind already. In January, you're going to be 4 releases behind. So you really need to at least upgrade once a year. We recommend twice, but try to keep up to date there. So ready to get started, download Reveal today. If you want to try App Builder, our low-code tool, just go to appbuilder.dev. Sign in, you get a free trial. Ignite UI, you can go to GitHub, Ignite UI, grab the open source components, go to igniteui.com, start playing with the best grids in the market along with all of these other killer components. But at the end of the day, we really want you to be successful delivering solutions to your customers with Reveal. So anything we can do to help with that, please let us know. Shoot me an email, jasonb@infragistics.com or sales@revealbi.io. I want to thank everyone for joining us today. If we don't talk to you this year, have a great holiday season, and we'll see you at the next webinars in 2026.